Everything we learned about Alonso's new Aston Martin deal. Aston Martin only needed 5 words from Fernando Alonso, "I am here to stay," to announce it had convinced him to sign a new Formula One contract. But within half an hour of that unconventional, Michael Jordan referencing press release, the F1 media heard Alonso's full reasoning for committing to Aston Martin until at least 2026 rather than holding on for potential chances at Mercedes or Red Bull. Here's what we learned about his thought process.
I'm Fernando Alonso, and I'm here to stay.
He did talk to other teams, though Alonso characterized his decision to stay at Aston Martin as easy and suggested the situation regarding his future didn't change much from when we spoke in February at the car launch. He readily admitted when asked by the race that talks with other teams had taken place. He presented those talks partly as a cursory standard process of checking out the market, but also suggested he didn't feel enough commitment from the other parties. It's normal when you enter negotiations, you need to balance a little bit what is the market, you need to listen to everyone else as well, because this is a normal procedure, and I think it's fair as well to listen to all the proposals and to see how the market moves, he said. But in my head Aston was the logical thing for me to do, and at the end it was also the best and I felt the most wanted in Aston Martin. All the other conversations were just light and never came to any other conclusions. Maybe more time was needed, all these kind of things, while in Aston it was a clear desire to work together. That's why it came very easy. Alonso reminded his audience that in Jeddah last month he described himself as a little bit outside of the frantic driver market triggered by Lewis Hamilton's Mercedes to Ferrari move and had been adamant he would dictate my destiny for good or for bad. Which was another way of saying he wasn't interested in holding out for options that might take time to unfold, such as whether Red Bull's internal turmoil would lead to a shock vacancy in Max Verstappen's car, or Sergio Perez, and his potential in-house replacements, would underperform enough to open a different route into a Red Bull, or whether Kimi Antonelli didn't progress fast enough for Mercedes to be confident in a 2025 promotion direct into its main team. As Alonso put it, without looking at the rumors or what other people are doing, or what deadlines other teams or drivers have, we dictate our own pace. And Aston Martin was willing to move at the same pace when it came to nailing down a 2025-26 contract. So if Red Bull or Mercedes do conclude they need an alternative for next year, Alonso won't be available. F1's growing calendar was biggest concern. When asked about his 2025 options over the last few months, Alonso has regularly referenced the possibility that he might not even be on the grid, despite Aston Martin's willingness to commit to him for the long term having been so crucial in it luring him in the first time ahead of 2023. But that hint of mulling retirement was more about F1's off-track and travel demands than his love for driving or assessment of his own competitiveness. It was not a racing factor, it was more the traveling, he explained. Looking at this calendar I was a little bit afraid that this will be heavy on me. That meant he'd needed a few races or weeks to really think of myself if I was ready to commit for more years in Formula One. While Aston Martin started 2024 in better shape than it ended 2023, it's certainly not replicating last year's early season form when Alonso was Red Bull's biggest rival. But any time Alonso was asked if the hint of Aston Martin plateauing had been a factor in him asking himself whether it was worth staying in F1, he dismissed that, expressed his huge faith in his team's long-term plans, and directed discussion back to the calendar and ultra-committed nature of life in F1. My love for Formula One and Aston Martin didn't change, I just wanted this time to really speak with myself, Alonso said. Obviously Formula One takes all your time, all your energy. You have to give up basically everything in life to keep racing. It didn't take him many races in 2024 to conclude that he was happy to continue. But can the 42-year-old be sure he'll still feel that way in 2026? I will never be 100% sure, he replied when asked that question. But I felt I love the driving too much. I cannot stop at the moment. And I think the sacrifices you have to make are smaller than the joy of driving and the passion I have. I breathe Formula One. I live Formula One. I train to be fit to drive Formula One cars. I eat to be fit to drive Formula One cars. My lifestyle is great and I love what I do, so I will not be happy sitting at home watching Formula One races because at the moment I still feel I should be there. No thoughts of retirement. Alonso is adamant that retirement never crossed his mind, despite the fact he had to test whether he had the resolve to commit to more draining F1 seasons of 24, or perhaps even more, races. While walking away from F1 was an outside possibility, he is adamant that competition driving will remain a part of his life for years to come. Not really, it never went to my mind. Retirement, said Alonso. When I stop Formula One, I will race elsewhere, maybe Dakar or something like that. For me, it's very difficult to really think about a life without a steering wheel in my hands. That will never happen, or not in the short term. I had 99% confidence that I will keep racing next year, so retirement was not an option. Set on Dakar return, and maybe Le Mans. Alonso's success outside of Formula One means his love of extracurricular activities is well known. While he says F1 has his full attention for the next couple of years, he remains determined to return to the Dakar Rally and didn't rule out getting involved with the Aston Martin Valkyrie World Endurance Championship project that kicks off next year. At the moment, not, said Alonso when asked about plans for competing elsewhere alongside his Aston Martin F1 commitments. I'm super focused on Formula One, and that will be the only thing in my head. I can nearly 100% say that I will try Dakar in the future. When I stop Formula One, that will be something that is still in my head. And with Aston there is the Valkyrie as well in Le Mans, starting next year. So who knows if that will also be a project that I can help somehow, driving or outside driving. I would love to see Aston Martin winning in any category, in any condition. That will help the brand, which I feel part of. I feel part of the Aston Martin Formula One team, but at the end of the day also the road cars and everything. So we want the best for the brand. The reality of the F1 schedule and date clashes means he's unlikely to race for Aston Martin at Le Mans while racing in F1, although it can't be ruled out completely. The Dakar Rally could at least fit in, although he's unlikely to take on such a big challenge in the short off-season even if Aston Martin permitted it.